sweat of our fathers, our mothers led us to this light screaming, where blood tastes of metal, tears make us rust. How could you love me? I ain't done nothing. My wounds and my prayers, I'm circling fear.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's show. I know you've noticed that the music is a little bit different today than usual, but the reason for that is because this is just a bittersweet day. I know we just finished celebrating Thanksgiving, but prior to the holiday, here in our hometown, we suffered a great loss of 6 young lives that were taken in a bus crash. The children were on their way home from school, and they were going to be out of school the next day, but this happened on the Monday, and my heart is still heavy from that. I'm still reeling from that, trying to deal with it, but I know that even though I'm having a hard time with it, they weren't my children or my grandchildren, but they were children, and they had parents and grandparents that loved them. So and I totally sympathize with those families and their loss. And I just ask that everyone please be in prayer for them, because they really do need that right now. And although we are understanding of what they're going through, we have no idea of what they're going through. So I just ask that you keep those families lifted up in your prayers. And I've been praying this whole while. It just when I got the news, it just affected me as if it were my personal loss. But I just I don't understand, and it's not our place to question, because we don't know God's will and we don't know His plans. But we just have to be mindful of the fact that God is sovereign, and He does not make any mistakes. But anyway, and I hope everybody did have a good holiday. I hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, because it is a time to give thanks and to give notice of those things that we're thankful for. And I am thankful for tremendous a lot of things, and being able to do this show every Saturday is one of them. And having said that, now I want to give you a few URLs before we actually start the show today. I want to give you my Spreaker account, by the way, and I want to make mention of the fact that also this is a little bit different. The quality of the show may be a little bit different if you're listening live, or if you listen to the uploaded episodes after the broadcast is over. I'm having to broadcast today from my computer. It's a tad bit old, so the sound quality is off just a tad bit too. My apps on my iPad for some reason is not working, and I couldn't get through to customer support to get it fixed before I aired today, so I'm pressing on. But anyway, the URL to the show for Spreaker is https://www.spreaker.com/user/author Vivian Moore. And of course, my social media, if you want to reach out to me on that, is https://www.facebook.com/Vivian Moore. And of course, my Twitter handle is God's Property 46. And if you want to check me out on Instagram, that is https://instagram.com/God's Property 51. And if you want to send me messages, you can also send them on my email, which is vivianemore@icloud.com. All right, without further ado, let's get on with the show. Today's title is You Have Not Because You Ask Not, and the topic is hesitancy in soliciting help. Hesitancy in soliciting help, just to make that more clear. All right. Well, it's a common fact. We all suffer from the hesitancy of asking for assistance. Everyone requires help at some point in time throughout our life, or in this case, writing career. And I know reaching out for aid is not always an easy task, but it's okay. Even the best writers at one point in their careers sought tips on how to progress when they reached the end of their wits too. With so many useful writing tools and advice accessible everywhere on the web, it is insane to ignore that help is at every turn. All you have to do is click and read. Whatever you stand in the need of is already accessible to you. It's not hard, folks, and there's nothing wrong with seeking advice that's readily available for you. I, just like you, when I first started writing, read just about every tip that hit the internet. And times were much different then, and the resources for help were limited. Mostly chat rooms is where you were most likely to find what you needed. Unlike now, especially if you are an avid participant on social media. Not only those networks, but Google is a very useful search engine for seeking advice. Now, let's talk a minute about what you might stand in the need of. If it's formatting a document for a novel, which font you should use, or spacing. All of this is only a keystroke away, especially character development. Names, historical sites, punctuation, grammar, style, and general information. These are things I highly suggest you seek out. However, when it comes to writing or creating a story, this is where I draw the line. Personally, I believe that no one can tell you how to create what comes from your imagination. Creative writing is a lot like when you were in elementary school and everyone had to present a project for show and tell. Instead of telling, you must show using the capability of your thoughts. But I do recommend any useful tips that help with effective writing. What do I mean by this? Well, I'll tell you. Now, I did my research today, and this is what I came up with. 21 harsh but eye-opening writing tips from great authors. Are you ready? All right, here we go. Number 1, the first draft of everything is crap. Now, this came from Ernest Hemingway, and I substituted the word because if you are familiar with Ernest Hemingway, he was very vocal and very very literal in what he said. But anyway, number 2, never use jargon words like reconceptualize or dismassification. And I quote, they are hallmark of a pretentious ass. Now this came from David Ogilvy. Number 3, present them with the elements of style. This is from Dorothy Parker. All right, number 4 is practice. This is a paraphrase, of course, but the advice came from Paul Thoreau. What he actually said was, my advice to any young person who wants to write is to leave home. What he meant by that, I have no idea, but I guess you would have to look it up to see what his thoughts were further on that. Number 5 is from Harper Lee, and she stated, anyone who aspires to a writing career before developing his or her talent is to develop a thick hide. You need to develop a thick hide if you want to write. Now, I have said this on many occasions, and I've said it on this show, and just as recently as I believe last week or maybe the week before. And it's the truth, because this is a very competitive business, and you have to go through, you have to go through a lot of hoops and turns and jumps and all of this to be a successful writer. And you really do, you have to develop a thick hide, or you have to be like a duck and have a back that that water and everything else just runs off. All right, number 6. If you don't have time to read, you don't have the time or the tools to write. It's as simple as that, and they came from Stephen King. And I've also said that before too on many occasions, because it's the truth. You have to read if you want to write. And that's just the truth of it. You can't write a novel if you've never read one before. All right, number 7. If writing seems hard, it is. Because it is hard, and I'll be the first one to admit that. There are days when I just want to scrap everything and say, forget it. because sometimes you have interruptions, or either your thought process is not flowing, your creativity is just not on point. Whatever the reason is, writing is hard, and I will be the first one to agree with this and to tell you that is the absolute truth, and that came from William Zissner. All right, number 8. Substitute damn every time you're inclined to write very. Your editor will delete it, and the writing will be just as it should be. Now, that came from Mark Twain. Number 9, start telling the stories that only you can tell, because there'll always be better writers than you, and there'll always be smarter writers than you. There will always be people who are much better at doing this or doing that, but you are the only you. And this came from Neil Gaiman. Number 10, consistency is the last refuge of the unimaginative, and that came from Oscar Wilde. Number 11, you must stay drunk on writing so reality cannot destroy you. This came from Ray Bradbury. Number 12, have the courage to write badly. This came from Joshua Wolf Schenck. And you know what? I get what he's saying about this. Because, you have to have courage, first of all, to become a writer, to actually bury your thoughts and put them out there on paper. And, everything you write is not going to be great. And I think I mentioned the first draft is always never the best one, because you will probably go and change it many times before it's even edited, and then you would change even more once it is going through the process of being edited. So I definitely agree with that. All right, number 13, stop arguing with yourself and make changes. This came from Anne Enright, and I agree with that too. I can tell you honestly that yes, I do argue with myself quite a bit when it comes to changing scenes, because everything you write is on a personal basis, and you want to keep every single line, but sometimes you do have to take things out to make the sentence make sense. So I try to limit the time that I spend arguing with myself and just write. All right, number 14. There are 3 rules for writing a novel. Unfortunately, no one knows what they are. This came from W. Somerset Maugham. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. I hope so. And I agree with that as well. People tell you, well, this is how you should write your novel, and this is what you should do. Well, I agree with the technique of someone telling you how to create a novel, but when it actually comes down to writing the novel, those thoughts come from a personal space that are within your brain, because you are the creative source behind writing that story, telling that story. So no one can really tell you how to do that. Number 15 is writing a book is a horrible, exhausting struggle, like a long bout with some painful illness. One would never undertake such a thing if one were not driven by some demon whom one can neither resist nor understand. This came from George Orwell, and I totally agree with this one as well, because writing it can be horrible at times, and it is very painful, it is very exhausting, and it is a struggle, because you write because you can't not write. It's like you have to. It is something compelling you to do it even when you don't want to. Even when you are at rest, you are writing in your head. At least I am, and I go through this on a daily basis, and that's why I always keep notepad and pen on my bed and my computer at all times, because I never know when the feeling or the sensation to write is going to hit me, so I'm always prepared. All right, number 16. You can't wait for inspiration. You have to go after it with the club. Now, this came from Jack London, and I sort of agree with this, but then I don't agree with it, because I cannot write if I am not inspired. I have to be inspired to be creative, and there may be many other people that agree with me when I say this. If you are not inspired when you sit down to write, basically what you're going to write is junk, and then you're going to wind up erasing it all and starting all over. So wait till you are inspired to write. Okay, number 17. Remember, when people tell you something's wrong or doesn't work for them, they are almost always right. When they tell you exactly what they think is wrong and how to fix it, they are almost always wrong. This came from Neil Gaiman. And I agree with that as well. All right, number 18. Prose is architecture, not interior decoration. This came from Ernest Hemingway. Number 19. Here's a lesson in creative writing. First rule, don't use semicolons. They are transvestite hermaphrodites representing absolutely nothing. All they do is show you've been to college. This came from Kurt Vonnegut. These are his words, not mine, folks. And number 20, write drunk, edit sober. This came from Ernest Hemingway. Now we do realize that Ernest Hemingway, among his other problems, alcoholism was one of his major problems. So this coming from him is not strange at all. Number 21. All right, drum roll, because this is the last one. Don't take anyone's writing advice too seriously. This came from Leonard Grossman, and I agree with that because, people tend to want to tell you how to do this and how to do that, and usually those people don't take advice well, but they sure do want to give it. All right, okay, now this is some great advice from a few renowned writers, and I trust what they say is mostly true, yet it is still their opinions, and I just said that. But the truth is, good, sound writing comes from doing your homework, especially if you've never written before. Imagination, hard work, and passion is also key elements. Now, I've always said that, and I've stated it many times throughout my different episodes. The best way to be deflated when you believe you have it all down pat is to have your work massacred by an editor or a critic. To save you the discomfort of being faced with such a grim reality, then seek knowledge by every means necessary before you submit your work for review. I've read books that had the technique down to almost perfection, but the story sucked. The plot was shaky with too many twists and turns because they thought they were being clever. Now, this happens when we go against the advice of those who are duly seasoned in their craft. As I've said before, don't be afraid to speak up. And I can't say this enough. You don't know everything, and that includes me. Seeking advice doesn't take away from your creative flow. If anything, it helps. Trust me, I've been there and done that. Just remember that pride comes before a fall. No man is an island. We cannot do everything alone. Writing is one of them. Now, guys, I know that today's show has been short and sweet, but, like I said, I'm in that place today to where I contemplated as to whether I should do the show or not. Today, I wanted to postpone it, but, I came through. I did the show anyway, and I hope that it's been helpful to you. That's the purpose of me doing this show, because I want to help as many people as I can. Those that are struggling, those that may not, have the resources to actually sit down and get started writing. They need a little help. They need a little cheerleading section, to help them get motivated to do what they've been called to do. But, like I said, today's show is short and sweet because I am still, having the after effects of what happened earlier this week. And also I'm trying to get over having a huge Thanksgiving dinner. What I really needed to do today was to get up and get out and exercise a little bit, but I didn't do that. I stayed in because it's cold outside. Although it was a beautiful day here in the city, we had sunshine everywhere, and it is cool and crisp outside. It's just typical fall weather. But I just want to say thank you for those who are listening to the live broadcast. And if you listen to the uploaded episodes later after I finish with the broadcast, I thank you in advance for doing that. And I appreciate the comments that I'm getting. I appreciate the stats that I'm getting, because each week more and more people are listening to the show, and I really do appreciate that, because let me tell you something, that really motivates me to continue on. Even on those Saturdays when I don't want to, this motivates me to do it. I just thank you so much for being who you are, because it helps me to be who I am too. And again, tomorrow is sundown. and I pray and hope that that you go out and worship with someone. If you don't have a church home, go out and visit someone else's church. Go with a family member. Go with a friend. And I say this every week: hug somebody, tell them that you love them, because tomorrow is not promised. I love you, and I thank you for listening to my show today. And I just pray that the rest of your weekend is beautiful and wonderful. Be safe, and God bless, and goodbye.
What can I do? Your heart is gone dry, and I can't be